this is the next stage. I've completed all the open mortisers and bottom rail, top rail and glazing bars. So I made up the glazing bars. So the glazing bar fits there like that. It's a bit proud there, so I want trimming off, but as you see it fits nicely there and back here. So what we need to do now is just put things together to make sure it all works. That was a nice fit. And that one. Just put a clamp round it, then I can just tap things up. That shoulder is just open a bit, so I'll go through scribing with a panel saw at some point, but that looks alright and these look alright. Turn it over and that one looks a little bit open. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine. We'll do the scribing later. I'll just point out the mortise for the glazing bar. As you can see, this bottom shoulder here, there's a bit of a gap and it's tight on the top. So what we can use is a panel saw to cut down there, because that gap happens to be virtually the right width for the panel saw. So if we cut down there gently with a bit of side pressure but not a lot, then both shoulders will then be identical. Unfortunately I've got to do it this way round because I'm right-handed, so you might not be able to see that gap. But we'll just run this saw and we're just cutting the shoulder, we're not cutting into the style. And we're got to make sure we don't cut into the tenon. My mate Bob tells a story of how a joiner getting on in these years was doing this on a door frame, cut straight through the tenon. Just one of those things where you're just not thinking quite. And there we go, it's quite tight now. So I've just pulled it up on the clamps, turn it over, and it's a lot tighter. So let's flip it over, take the clamps off. Now if you see here, the glazing bar is set away from the face. This is the inside face. So the glazing bar's sat in. So what we could do is we can bevel these, and we can bevel this edge here and round there. I'll just zoom in. So we can bevel these and bevel that, but most of this needs to be done before we glue it together. So I'm just going to mark that there, and then we'll set the bevels out. So there's the mark that I marked off the glazing bar. Now, how are we going to transfer that mark around? Well, we could use a marking gauge, but that will create a little groove, which might be alright. I've got this marking gauge at an angle, so therefore I can just run the pencil down that line. But if I chose to, I could just set the pencil there against my finger and run it round like that. I've got to be careful here because of those shoulders. We don't want the bevel to continue along. So let's just put this in the vise. Maybe that way round, or maybe that way round. Let's try that way round. And I've got quite a small plane here, and you can just bevel it off. But of course you've got to stop at the ends, before the ends. Sort of thing like that. Okay? Or you can use a router with a bevel cutter on it. But that presumes that you've got a router and the bevel cutter. You might just have a plane, in which case this is the way, and at the ends just take a chisel and just notch it backwards with the chisel. Or you could do, and I quite like these, a stopped chamfer. There's the sight line. Go a distance back from the joint. You know, and you just use something to gauge it, like this, or a piece of wood, and it's how you feel about it, and then just ease it back like that, just gently. And then just run the chisel that just ripped out slightly there because we were going against the grain, and that's the thing with red cedar, the grain does go a bit all over the place. So you can stop it before the corner, and as long as all the stops are the same, it looks quite nice. If you're going to use a router, let me just get the glazing bar, then that part by the glazing bar you must do before you glue it together, and this part on the glazing bar. All the rest you can do once it's glued together and just whiz round. But you can't get to that, you can't get to this bit here, and you definitely can't get to that bit there.